Well, hello everybody. It's Eric Edberg here. It's not July. It's August 2, 3, 4, 5th. It's my daughter's 26th birthday. Yay, Cullen! And I'm going to do a little bit of practicing before I go off to do some shopping business in Indianapolis. I'm going to play at a wedding, and then I'm going to a party where I'm going to take cello to play outside. So I'm going to bring this wonderful Lewis and Clark carbon fiber cello. So I'm going to warm up a little bit. And today I think I'll start with some scales. So I'm going to do G major because I think in this video I'm going to get to the Prelude of the G major suite, which somebody has asked me on the Internet Cello Society to, not Internet Cello Society, the Apprentice Cellist Club on Facebook to talk about. Here's Riley. There he is. Say hi, Riley. Yeah, he's not much of a talker. So I'm just starting slowly. I'll probably end up improvising on this scale. This is the first time I've played the cello today, so I'm only doing 3 octaves. I'll do 4 in a second, or more than a second. As I'm watching myself, I'm really watching for, but I'm not curling up, and I'm keeping my fingers over 2 strings at a time. Now, having just done that 3 octave scale, I'm thinking it'd be good to go through the Galamian acceleration scale idea. So it's great to do this with the metronome. I don't have a metronome with me right now, so I'll try to keep a fairly steady pulse. And this is where you start at the tonic, go up to the 3rd, and then keep going. Trying to feel that I'm making rounded motions with my upper arm. Keep that moving. That F sharp was a little low for my taste. So right now I'm going for continuity. I'm vibrating a little bit. You don't need to, depending on what you're working on. It'd be good to not vibrate at all so you can really listen for the pitch. Here we are, what I call the turnaround. Now, quarter note trip is 1. I just want to feel a nice feeling of ease and balance in that thumb position. Now 8th notes. My 4th finger was a little flat, so I noticed that. But I'm not stopping because I'm going for just keeping going. So this is very good to play through whatever you're going to play through. Then you can work on whatever there was. Triplets now. in 30-second notes going all the way up to the top in one bow. And that's at a, you know, nice, fairly moderate tempo. Okay, so what were some of the things that I was not 100% happy with in this? Four finger notes, sometimes a little bit out of tune. So I'm talking other things. This is a constant thing. With the length of my arm, I tend to kind of sometimes come forward and roll like over like this, and it gets a little bit flat. So. If I know that if I think of having a finger over the C string as I'm doing this, I'm much less likely to play flat with that fourth finger. Similarly, right there, you know, it's going from an open string to a finger can be difficult because your hand can just kind of move around. So if you start out with your fingers on an adjacent string and then move back, whoops, that was flat a little bit. I'd like the B lower. So that was pretty good, if I say so myself. There, okay. Now that I've got it, I want to repeat it a few times. Now, there are some things where you can just fix it and it stays fixed. But most of the time, we need to identify the weak spot or the error, fix it, and then repeat doing it correctly. One way to think of practice is that you want to practice doing it the way that you want to do it. So you want to make that kind of move to an automatic thing. I'm just trying to move back a little bit so you can see my beautiful hair part. So, correct repetition. You're getting in the habit of that. So I'm using other fingers to help me find where that fourth finger note goes, and also that I have my first finger or fourth finger down lightly or both to find that third finger. Okay, so I'm going to just do that a few times. Those fourth finger notes. Now I feel like there's constantly a little something new. I think that must somehow engage the brain in a particular way. So I changed the dynamics a little bit, used a little bit more bow. So I'm not doing an exact repetition. It's a slight variation. That works for me a lot, but I'm just keeping a steady tempo. So here we are. I'm going to go on now. I'm going to come back down. very interesting, the psychology of practicing and the way that we feel about ourselves depends on how much our ego is invested in the quality of our playing. There was a long time where if I played a little bit out of tune, I would have a big reaction of shame, and that's a complicated subject, but I felt like I had to play the cello perfectly to be a worthy person. That is taking a lot of work to kind of identify and work through, and not only release, but to let it be. So if I have a little bit of that reaction, I can just let that be. Is kind of the mindfulness approach, rather than to fight it. If I fight it, it fights back. So it's a very interesting dance with our inner things. Now, for those of you who are adult amateurs and playing the cello for fun, you may find, like I do when I'm doing hand drumming or something, that you don't have a lot of ego investment in how well that you play, or you may find that you do, and that if you are off a little bit or you're not quite getting what you want exactly the way it is, that triggers whatever your issues are. It's okay. As I like to say to myself and to some of my students, it's okay you're okay if you play out of tune, and then when that is the case, then we can work on what it is. So playing in tune in first position, I would be really afraid to tell people, anybody on the internet, that I still find it hard to play in tune with my fourth finger in first position, but that's the thing. So I continue to keep working on that. Okay, I don't have a lot of time today to practice, so I am going to play at this outdoor party, probably Bach G major suite, which is like the go-to thing when I have to just sit down and play without practicing or warming up. And Raymond had asked me to talk about the Prelude of the G major suite. So I think what I'll do is I'll play through it, and then I will practice it a little bit. So there are so many ways to play this. And let me just talk a little bit, for a long time, the lovely lilting quality, people would play with 8 notes to bow. And it is very beautiful that way. It is also very tricky because it takes a lot of flexibility in the wrist and the fingers to be able to do this 8 notes. To do those slurs. Just before I go on and talk about this more, you may have noticed there was one part somewhere in here. Forget exactly where. Now, this is not 8 notes to a bow. It was in here. Where my finger fell off the string just a little bit for a while. And that was because I lost my concentration a little bit. I started thinking about what I was going to talk about next. This is such an important thing, and it's a never-ending quest for me to just play the cello when I am playing the cello and not to be thinking about how good it is, how bad it is, so that kind of evaluation, to not be forecasting what I'm going to do next, etc., or thinking about what other people are thinking, about me. So it's a constant journey, just letting go of the other stuff and simply playing the cello. Much easier said than done, but it's I'm committed to the idea that we can train ourselves to do it. Anyway, so 8 notes to a bow, very nice. Then people went back, and it became possible to look at Bach's manuscripts, or Bach's wife's manuscript, and the manuscript by his student Johann Kellner, and early editions, and say, well, nobody was playing 8 notes to a bow. And so in the Anna Magdalena Bach manuscript, the opening is marked with 3 notes slurred, and everything else is separate, like the. If I'm doing all the exact bowings that are in the Anna Magdalena Bach manuscript, and at least in some of the movements, it's difficult to see exactly what she wrote. The question, one of the questions with the bowings as an interpreter is, where do you stand on trying to do as close to possible as to what Bach would have written? And it's really good to always start from what a composer wrote. Now, there's questions about whether Bach actually expected somebody to perform this, or if they were written as like compositional experiments or models for his own students. It's very hard for us to believe that he might not have expected somebody to play it, and that they might not have actually been played by somebody at that time, but maybe it was. There's also the question of the kind of bow that people used at the time that Bach was writing this, which I think was in the 1720s, this kind of bowing, that just did not work with what we call a Baroque bow now. So you can't always know that a composer imagined every new possibility that might happen over the next 300 years and rejected them. So, and there are a lot of philosophical considerations that have to do with composer's intent, and I'm not going to explore all those now. What I will talk about is that playing 3 notes separate and then 3 notes slurred and then 5 notes separate is really tricky. Not so much to just do it, although in the just doing it, and if you do it slowly, the problem is that because you have 3 notes on a down bow, then everything is on separate bows. It can start. You run out of bow because you've got this extra long down bow at the every 2 beats. So you have to use a little extra length on some of the up bows to work your way back. So it's a kind of a zigzag. So your down bow, your up bows are a little bit longer than your down bows, so that you're able to maintain doing that bowing. I think that is perhaps the least challenging aspect of doing that bowing. The larger aspect I have found with my students is that just making it musical, in other words, having the sense of flow that you want to, that you feel from that. It's before you've got a really fluid bow technique developed. And just remember, if you don't have a really fluid bow technique developed yet, that's fine. It takes a long time. So it's, we're going one step at a time. So doing that bowing, you may feel, well, I'm being very faithful to what the composer wrote, but it may not be the best way to make the piece sound good and to make it an inviting experience for our level of ability with the bow. So people have done 4 notes to a bow. Which is a very good thing to do even before you do 8 notes to a bow, if that's a way that you want to play it. Or you casals. Would do 3 slur, 3 slur, 2 separate, and then 3 slur. And that is a way of not having to deal with the snaking out in the bow issue. In the Starker edition, which I think was published in the around 1960, very early 1960s, Mr. Starker, who played this. When I first played it, I was playing it basically in 2, like a 1, 2, 1. Because that's the harmonic rhythm. Mr. Starker would play more in 4. Obviously, I can't duplicate what he did. There is a wonderful video of him on YouTube, kind of late in his career, around 2000, where you can see him playing. But his bowing in his edition is 3 slurred, 2 separate, 3 slurred, then 4. I'm doing this from memory. All my music had to get put in storage when the basement level of the building where I teach, and that's where my studio is, got flooded, and we had to move everything out so they can replace the drywall. Anyway, that's that is one bowing solution. So it's overwhelming sometimes what to do, and that's why it's good to just like pick one way to do it. And if I was just starting to play this, I would do either kind of consistently 4 notes to a bow, or I would use the bowing from the Starker edition. I've tried it both ways with students, and I like to mix it up a little bit. So you're not having to do too many notes to a bow, and also you don't have the great challenge of creating fluidity in a line with a lot of separate bows. Now, as my students get more advanced and develop more bow control, if they're playing this piece or they're playing pieces like this, we may play more notes in a bow to develop the bow technique, or we may play less notes in a bow also to develop the bow technique, or as the bow technique is developing, so that we're able to keep the fluidity. So if your bow, as I talked about before, if your bow technique is a little bit stiff, it really feels like can feel like there's 16 pulses in a measure, 16 beats in a measure, like one on every 16th note. So, and it's feeling the larger pulses. So let me demonstrate again. When I played 8 notes to a bow, then I was really feeling 2 pulses to a measure, in the feeling the longer pulses. There's a really fascinating and wonderful TED talk by what is his name? Ben Zander, the conductor in Boston, where he talks about the power of classical music, and he demonstrates the difference as to how many pulses you feel in a measure. So if you're playing the separate bows, what I do is I go for feeling those larger pulses and keeping that sense of flowing line that's going back and forth. See, what else would I want to say about this? So if you're starting out, do a bowing that you can do comfortably, learn the notes. You know that I always suggest playing, especially when we're in the earlier stages of developing our skill on that cello, to play things pizzicato. I haven't really worked on this pizzicato, but I think so here's a nice thing. Eric, I love you even if you play a flat note. You love yourself even if you play a note on a tune, and then just fix the note, okay? It's just intonation, it's not self-worth. Which doesn't mean to play everything out of tune, it just means like love yourself and train yourself to play a tune. But don't beat yourself up just because you're human and developing. Anyway, I would play it slowly pizzicato, play it faster pizzicato. I bet it would sound great on guitar. I'm sure people have played it on guitar. I have played it on piano, and it sounds great on piano also. So, I mean, it's Bach. Bach sounds good no matter what you do with it. The string crossings, you know, as we've talked about before, you're going, if there's abrupt changes of the bow going from one string to another, that's one of the things that interrupts the flow. The bow is kind of slapping itself against the next string. So here, I want to have my arm already up on the A string, D string level for the upper arm. Same thing if I'm playing with more notes in a bow. here I'm not bringing my elbow way down, just bringing my forearm down. So smooth that, man, the choreography of and the strategy or tactics of where you have your upper arm and when you allow just your forearm to come down or just your wrist, that is a wonderful thing to experiment with and smooth out. Okay, let me talk about some of the fingering choices. Obviously, first position to begin with. I'm going to play, I don't know, I'm in the 8 notes to a bow mood. So, first position. There it is. Now, here you go up to second position. So it helps you to avoid the string crossings that would happen if you only go up to second position. So, so then here somebody was asking me also, like, when would you play this B with first finger instead of with third finger? So here's a really great example of that. If I do it that way, I've got this like single note on the D string, which is really hard to get in, and it's going to tend to be accented, and it's a little bit different color in the middle. Like one note on another string is in the middle of a flow of notes that are all on one string. Is something, you know, it's really helpful to avoid. So here, come up to second position, and then I mean, part of it now is this alternation between the two strings. Some people will do then as an echo, not be rocking back and forth between the A string and the D string. I think kind of part of the idea there is to hear that rocking back and forth. So usually when I do the repeat, I keep the A string. And now this is basically an A7 chord, and we're now resolving that to a D chord. And here, again, we're in second, or I call it second and half position because the first finger is not on F but on F sharp. Some people call that upper second position. So there's another reason. Why would you play F sharp with 1 instead of 3? Well, here, those notes are very helpful to play. It's very helpful to play them all in second position. It actually doesn't sound bad, but the open strings don't seem to be this, you know, in the same kind of vein as where it's alternating between two strings. So here, most people like to do that, although can work very well. If you're new to position playing, playing it in first position first can be helpful, so you really kind of know where those spots are and you're hearing it well. And then if you're going to play it in second position, your third finger. I like to play that E, or traditionally I've played it also in second and a half position, but now this is kind of making me rethinking, because there's a I play it at the party tonight and I remember, I'll do it. You know, some things are just so programmed in. Okay, I've been talking for over half an hour, and I'm going to have to stop soon and get ready to go about my business. But, you know, practice slowly. Now, this is always tricky because of the fifth between the B and the E. Rather than playing this with 3, which can work, I have always done it with 2, 1 on the E. And usually I'll bar to the until I'm on the G. Then rebar. I release that for a little while so that the tension doesn't build up. When you're barring across 2 strings, that's when we're most likely to start squeezing, and squeezing, clamping your hand on the cello is something we want to release as often as we can. So usually I have always played it like this. You can try it in first position. And here, definitely, instead of 3 and trying to reach up to the 4th finger for the C sharp, I just shift up so that you can not have an extension. Remember, in traditional cello fingering, we do extensions between 1 and 2, but not between 2 and 3, pardon me, or 3 and 4 when we're in neck positions. And you can just see it's a lot easier to make distance between these 2 fingers than it is to do the Mr. Spock thing or to do this. And I can't explain exactly how things are tied together, but they are. So just come to 2. And remember, you don't have to extend until it's time to play the A. So shift and release rather than trying to stay extended all the time. Unless making the little shifts goes haywire. And for now, depending on where you are, it may be helpful to leave that 4th finger anchored. As you see, it doesn't work as well for me because when I do that, and I'm stretching back, that tension in the hand can pull the 4th finger backwards. So if I'm really conscious about it, that's how I would do it. Now, I don't know. Let me go back and I'll play it in a faster tempo and see if I actually do that or not. I'm going to try to not think about it and just let things happen. Well, of course, with that fingering, it's not going to work. So I think I did what I was talking about there. Now, I wasn't trying to control, I was just kind of observe what was happening with my hand. Okay, I need to get ready for the party, or for the wedding, before the party, and first go pick up a bow that's being rehaired in another part of Indianapolis and have another bow rehaired. So hope that helps. I'll finish talking about the suite or this movement tomorrow. Sorry if this is too rambly, but if you watch my videos, you get stream of consciousness Eric. Anyway, if you made it this far, congratulations. What a great piece it is. Also, tomorrow, if I have a little more time, I will put on a good microphone, external microphone, and play with both this cello and my wood Italian cello, and you can hear some of the difference, at least as the microphone picks it up, between the tone of the carbon fiber cello and the late 19th century, or late 18th century, at least I think, Italian cello. I'll see you next time.